Hello, Algebra 1, and welcome to your first video of your first week of distant learning. What we're going to do this week is we're going to review solving equations. So you have a worksheet assignment that is posted for you. It is due by Friday. The first part of these notes, see how it says part 1, will help you with the first part of your homework. And then part 2 of these notes will help you with the second half of the homework. Okay, so follow along with me as you're filling in your notes or making your own notes along the way. So, solving equations. Let's remember what that is. There's going to be 4 different steps that we need to follow each time. Step 1, we're going to need to distribute anything if it's possible, if it's needed. Okay. Step 2, we're going to simplify each side of my equation. Okay, that's the same thing as saying combine like terms. All right, so combine like terms on each side. Then you're going to move all your variables over to one side. And then you're going to solve the remaining 2-step equation. All right? So let's see an example. Maybe this will jog some memories for you. So this first one, I have 5y minus 8 equals 3y plus 12. Okay? I want to get y by itself. So nothing to distribute. So I'm going to go on to step 2. Nothing to simplify on either side. Step 3, start moving stuff over. Okay? I want all my variables together. So I'm going to subtract this 3y to my other side. This gives me now 2y, because 5y minus 3 is 2. Still have minus 8. And now this side is just going to be a 12. Okay? I'm going to move my 8 over to the other side. Right now it's being subtracted, so to move it over, we're going to have to add it. So now I have 2y, I've moved it, equals 20. All right, we have just my variable on the left, just my constant on the right. The last thing we need to do is finally get our variable by itself. Right now it's being multiplied by 2. So to move that 2 out of the way, we're going to divide both sides by 2. And we are left with y is equal to 20 divided by 2, which is 10. All right, number 2. Again, step 1, step 2 is already done. I'm going to move on to step 3, which is going to be to move my variables over. I am going to add my 8x to this side because right now it's being subtracted. So to move it over, I have to do the opposite. So I'm going to add 8x onto the other side. So it's gone from the right, but now the left, negative 6 plus 8, that gives me 2x. Nothing else changed because I didn't move anything else. All right. From here, right now I'm adding 14, so to move it over, I have to subtract 14. Now that's gone. We have 2x is equal to 12 minus 14, which is negative 2. Last thing, x is being multiplied by 2, so to move it over, I'm going to divide. So we get x is equal to negative 1. All right. What's nice about these equations is to check your answer. You can take negative 1 and plug it back in for the 2 x's, and they should equal each other if it's the correct solution. Same thing over here. If I plug 10 in for y on both sides, I should get the same number equal to each other. Okay? But this, all of this that I did in the middle, that's called showing my work, and that's what we need to see from you. Okay? I need to see all the steps that you use to get to your solution, x equals negative 1. All right? All right, here we go. Number 3. This one, I am able to distribute something first. See that 3 on the outside? So I'm going to go ahead and distribute that to give me, so 3 times 6p gives me 18p. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. My other side stays the same. Haven't done anything to it. All right, now I'm going to start moving stuff. I'm going to move my p's to the one side. I'm going to subtract 11p because right now it's a positive. So to move it over, we got to do the opposite and subtract. So it's no longer on the right side. My left side becomes 7p minus 3 equals negative 45. Move my 3 over. Right now I'm subtracting my 3, so to move it I have to add my 3 because negative 3 plus 3 is 0, right? That's why it's not here anymore. I've moved on the other side. We're left with 7p equals negative 42. And then our last step is going to, I'm multiplying by 7, so now I'm going to divide by 7. And we have p is equal to negative 42 divided by 7, which is negative 6. All right, number 4, looks like I can distribute on both sides. So I'm going to do that first. So 2 times 4w gives me 8w. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And then on this side, negative 10 times w is negative 10w. Negative 10 times negative 3 gives me positive 30, and you still have the plus 4 over here, okay? We didn't distribute the 10 to it because it wasn't part of my parentheses. It's still just on the end, all right? Before I start moving stuff, though, that does mean that I'm able to combine like terms on this side. So nothing changed over here. I'm not moving stuff. What I did was I combined 30 plus 4, which gives me a positive 34. Now I can start moving things. Okay, I'm going to, right now it's negative 10w, so I'm going to add 10w to my other side. Negative 10 plus 10, that gives me 0, which is why that's gone. This side becomes 18w minus 2 equals 34. All right, now we are going to add the 2 over. Moved it. That gives me 18w equals 36. And then last but not least, we're going to divide both sides by 18 because right now we're multiplying by 18. So to move it over, we do the opposite. We divide, and we end up with w is equal to 2. All right. 2 more examples of this stuff, and then we're going to move on to part 2. So here's 5 and 6. So this is like the most complicated you're going to see. You're going to go through all of the steps on both of these. Don't get freaked out, okay? Go back and remember what your steps are. Distribute if I can. Simplify, combine like terms if I can. Then start to move stuff. A lot of you like to jump down here to step 3 without seeing if you have to do step 1 or 2, all right? And that's where the mistakes happen. So remind yourself what the steps are. So look in here, distribute. Can I distribute anything? Absolutely, yes I can. Okay. Technically, there is a negative 1 in front of this parentheses that I'm going to distribute to both pieces. 5x is not being distributed. It's still there. Negative 1 times x gives me negative x. Negative 1 times negative 18 gives me positive 18. All right, my other side. 6 minus 2 times x plus 15. This minus 2 is what I'm going to distribute. The 6 is still here. Negative 2 times x gives me negative 2x. Negative 2 times 15 gives me negative 30. All right. My steps reminds me, step 2 is to combine like terms on each side of the equation if I can. Well, if I look here, I have 5x and minus x. Those are like terms. So 5x minus 1x gives me 4x. Still have that plus 18. All right, anything on the other side? Yep, looks like I have 2 constants. So I can combine together 6 and minus 30. So my negative 2x did not change, but I can combine together 6 minus 30 to give me negative 24. Now I can go to step 3, which is moving stuff around. Okay, so I'm going to bring my variables. I like to bring my variables always to the left-hand side because I like to say x equals. So moving my negative 2x over, I'm going to do that by adding it. because again, negative 2 plus 2 gives me 0. That's how I get to remove from this side. Keep it balanced, got to do it over here. That gives me 6x plus 18 equals negative 24. Now I'm going to move my constant 18 over. Right now it's positive, so to move it, I have to subtract it. It's gone. We have 6x equals negative 24 minus 18 gives me negative 42. X is still not by itself. I still have a 6 being multiplied to it, so to remove it, I'm going to divide 6 on both sides. And we get x is equal to negative 7. And again, if you're unsure of your answer, you can always plug it back into all of your x's and make sure you get two numbers that are the exact same, equal to each other. Okay, last one. You ready? All right, again, step 1, remind myself, distribute if needed. Can I do that? Yes, I can. I can distribute this 8 to both of these pieces. So 8 times y is 8y, and 8 times 4 is 32. Now I can distribute again on this side. Remember that sign comes with it. So negative 2 times y is negative 2y. Negative 2 times 1 is positive 2. My other side, there is nothing to simplify or move or whatever. All right, remind myself, I did the distribute. I can't move things yet. I have to simplify first and combine like terms if I can. So even though you want to start moving things, don't do it. Combine. Look on this side. I have an 8y and a negative 2y I can put together. 8 minus 2 gives me 6. Also, I have two constants on this side. 32 plus 2, that gives me 34. Okay, now I'm going to start moving things around. I always like to bring my variables to the left side, so I'm going to move that 3y. Right now it's being subtracted, so I'm going to add it to move. We've got to do the opposites. Negative 3 plus 3 gives me 0, so it's gone. This side, though, gives me 9y plus 34 equals 70. Oops. All right, move my constant over. I'm adding it, so to move it, we're going to subtract it. So we have 9y is equal to 36. That's 70 minus 34 equals 36. And then our final step, because y is still not by itself, it's being multiplied by 9. So to undo it, I got to divide by 9. And we get y is equal to positive 4. All right, and again, you could plug that in for all of your y's, and you should get the same number equal to itself. Okay, so that is part 1 of your notes. You're going to use this to help with the first half of your assignment. So 1 through 6 is what that will just help you with. Remember to show all your work, guys, or you're not going to get your full credit. I got to see all the steps in between. Okay? All right, part 2. These are literal equations. What does that mean? That means there's no numbers. We're going to have a whole bunch of letters to work with, and we need to solve for just one particular letter. So some hints to help you out is you want to move backwards. Okay? Think about backwards PEMDAS. You want to remove fractions by multiplying by their reciprocal. So an example of that is if I have 3/4, multiplying by the reciprocal would give me 4 over 3. You flip it. Just think about it. That gives you 12 over 12, which is 1. So that's why we multiply by the reciprocal, because it makes it a 1, so it gets rid of it. All right? And the last step is usually to divide by whatever is next to your variable. That typically seems to be the case. Okay? So remember, your goal is to isolate the variable that they're asking you to by getting rid of everything else. Right? Again, examples are always helpful. So we got a couple of these for you also. First one, C equals 2 pi r. This is actually the equation for a circumference. It tells me it wants me to solve for r specifically. Okay, so if I'm solving for r, I like to draw a little box around it so I know which one I'm trying to get by itself. I want to move everything else away. All right, so what is attached to my r right now? A 2 and a pi. And they're actually both being attached by multiplication, so I can go ahead and divide both of those pieces over to the other side. They're both being multiplied, so I'm going to divide both of them over. That eliminates them, and we're left with c over 2 pi is equal to r. Look at that, and this problem is done. R is by itself. All right, move on over here. I have m equals c minus s, so that's a lot of variables. It specifically wants me to get c by itself, so I'm going to draw a box around that. All right, what is being attached to the c? There is an s. How is it being attached? By a minus sign. Okay, so to move that over, what are we going to do? We're going to add it over here. Negative s plus s cancels out. So here I don't have numbers to combine, so it's just going to stay m plus s equals c. And my variable is by itself, and we are done. All right. They will get a little bit more complicated as we move on, so stay with me. All right, number 9. D equals m over v. The variable it wants by itself is the m. So here it is. Alright, so what is happening to m? M is being divided by v. So what's the opposite of divide by v? It's going to be multiply by v. Again, we do it to one side. We got to do it to the other side. So here, I've done the opposite. It cancels out. I'm left with d times v is equal to m. M is by itself, nothing else I can do. All right, number 10 is a little bit more involved. Again, it wants m by itself, so I'm going to draw a box around that. There's a couple things going on. M is being multiplied by v squared. It's also being divided by 2. Okay, so what am I going to do first? We're not all fans of fractions, so let's get rid of that fraction. Okay, I'm being divided by 2, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply each side by 2 to eliminate that piece. K times 2 is equal to 2k is equal to mv squared. All right, so again, my m is not by itself yet. What's wrong? It's being multiplied by v squared. So how can I get rid of that? Well, I get to divide by v squared. Move that over. We have 2k divided by v squared. Leave it just like that. Equals to m. M is now by itself, and we've done our literal equation for the variable m. All right, we got 4 more. Here we go. 11. Ooh, that's the equation for perimeter. P equals 2L plus 2W. So if I had given you this and I wanted to know what the equation of, what the width is of a rectangle, we could move everything away and just get W by itself. So how are we going to do that? Well, first, circle my variable. We want W, so that's what I need to move. What's happening? It's being multiplied by 2. It's also being added by 2L. So remember up here, think backwards PEMDAS. So I'm not going to do the multiply divide first. I'm actually going to move eating, adding, and subtracting first if I can. Okay, so I'm actually going to move the 2L over to P first. It's being added right now, so to move it, I'm going to subtract it. So that is now gone. We have P minus 2L, keep it separated, equals 2W. All right, find my variable. It's still not by itself. It still has a 2 attached to it. How is the 2 attached? It's being multiplied. So how are we going to get rid of that? We're going to divide it. Oh, sorry. We're going to divide both sides by 2. Okay. That leaves me with P minus 2L divided by 2 is equal to W. Now, a lot of you are going to want to cancel this out. You cannot do it. Okay, that's impossible. This is part of L minus P. I mean, there's a whole bunch going on here. You can't just take away like numbers. Okay, there is nothing else we can do here. This is our final equation to get W by itself. There are ways to move forward that you could do in other classes. For right now, we're not going to go there. We're going to stop at that part. All right, number 12 wants me to solve, let's see, A equals P plus PRT, and it wants me to get the T by itself. All right, so here's T, and what's happening to T? It's getting added by PR, hold on, P is being added, PR is being multiplied, there we go. So again, opposite of my PEMDAS, I need to add and subtract first before I multiply and divide. So I am going to move this P out of my way. It's positive right now, so I got to subtract it. So I have A minus P equals PRT. All right. My variable T is still not alone. It has a P and an R being multiplied to it. So to move those over, we're going to divide by PR. Both get divided out. We are left with A minus P divided by PR equals T. Keep them all separated. Don't cancel anything out. That is it for that one. All right, guys, 2 more. We got this. Okay, 13. We are solving for our variable F. This is actually the equation to make a Celsius degree, a Fahrenheit to Celsius and back and forth. So solve for F. So right here we have the equation of what a Celsius degree is equal to. We're actually going to rewrite it to see what a Fahrenheit degree is equal to. Okay, lots of things going on. There's a fraction being multiplied out front, and there is a 32 being subtracted inside the parentheses. Now you might want to add 32 first, but where is that 32? It's inside the parentheses. That's actually going to be the last thing I have to deal with. Look at that. Parentheses is going to be last now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deal with this 5 over 9. Okay? Let's get rid of that. One of my helpful hints also told me to multiply. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Oh, hold on. There we go. One of my helpful hints also told me, here it is, to multiply by the reciprocal. So this is when we're going to use this helpful hint. Okay, the reciprocal of 5 over 9 is going to be 9 over 5. Okay, so I'm going to kind of rewrite it to help me out over here. So we have 9 over 5 times C equals 5 times 9 over 5 F minus 32, because those cancel, and I'm left with 9. I can bring C on top with the 9 and divide it by 5, because remember, C is the same thing as saying C over 1. All right, that is going to be equal to, I am now left with F minus 32, parentheses disappears since that fraction's not there in front of it anymore. Now, finally, I can move that 32. I'm going to do it by adding it to both sides. Okay. I don't like how I wrote that. It looks like I'm doing it to the 5. I'm not. I'm doing it to all of it. So it's the whole fraction, 9C over 5 plus 32 is equal to F. And that's as far as we get. You could also write it as 9/5 C and then plus 32. That is technically the same thing. If you don't want to put your C part of your fraction, this is technically the exact same thing and is also correct. Okay, you've made it to the end. Last one. Area is what this one is for. It looks like it's an area for a trapezoid. You get to do that in geometry. 1/2 H times B1 plus B2. All right, it wants me to solve for just B1, which is this guy right here. Okay, so what's going on here? I see a fraction just like before. I'm going to get rid of that fraction first. It is 1/2, so the reciprocal of 1/2 is going to be 2 over 1. So we have 2 over 1 times A equals 1/2 times the reciprocal. Everything else is still here. Those cancel out. 2 over 1 times A is just 2A is equal to H times B1 plus B2. All right, my B1 is still here. Now I am going to divide by H because, again, this parenthesis has to be last. So let's move what's on the outside. H is being multiplied, so to move it, I am going to divide by H. Get rid of that guy. So now we have 2A divided by H is equal to B1 plus B2. Parentheses are finally gone because there's nothing else on the outside. In our final step, B1 is being added by B2, so I'm going to subtract B2 to the other side. So we are left with my fraction of 2A divided by H minus B2 is equal to B1. All right, that's about as complicated as these will get. It's good to see it. Remember, PEMDAS backwards is going to be your biggest help for these literal equations. All right, so what we just did will help you with 7 through 10 on the assignment that you're working on. It is due by this Friday by midnight. You can print the worksheet off of the Teams page and fill that in and send it back to me as a picture. Or you can do the problems on your own piece of paper and submit that also. Picture of all your work on your paper. Make sure I can clearly see everything. And make sure I can see all of your work. I need it, guys. If you don't show me your work, I cannot give you full credit. All right? So, let me know if you have any questions. You can post in the chat, or you can send me a message through Remind, and we'll get through this. All right, thanks.